Hello people. Um, this video sort of covers a range of issues, but I'm focusing on what could be called the left-right paradigm in politics. Now, anyone who watches my videos will see that I'm quite a political person. I'm quite conscientious. I have strong views on a number of subjects. It's fair to say I have a big interest in politics, both domestic and international. Um, What I find interesting in the world of politics is sort of tribal groupings and partisanship, whereby people are often, in the United States, it's conservative versus liberal, because the whole concept of socialism is actually a dirty word. But generally, it's divided into the left versus right paradigm. Now, I've been interested in politics for over a decade now. And I have to say, some of my views I've kept, I've maintained, haven't altered much at all, and I have conviction on the views. Other views I have transcended my viewpoint as I've learned more, as I've seen things from a different angle, through dialogue, through debate, etc. And I just like to say I'm not comfortable being labelled right wing or left wing. The truth is I'm a bit of both. Now, people watching some of my videos may think, that surprises me, you seem like a right winger. There may be others who say, that surprises me, you seem like a left winger. And some people may disagree with my self-assessment and say, oh, you are a left winger or you are a right winger. The truth is, it depends on the subject. And when all is said and done, I really think the most accurate way I could describe myself is a centrist. That's not because it's a sort of cuddly halfway term. It's because I honestly feel that's where I'm most comfortable describing myself. And that does not mean I don't have strong views on certain subjects, and views that probably do veer in one direction. It's just that when it all balances out, I am not particularly comfortable in either camp. If I were to join the Conservative Party tomorrow, I'd automatically feel uncomfortable because there'd be so many areas I disagree with them on. And if I were to join the Liberal Democrats, I would feel uncomfortable there as well, or Old Labour, because there'd be a lot of areas I disagree with them on. I'm talking here about domestic British politics. So at the moment, I'm not affiliated with any British political party, and I genuinely don't know who I'm going to support at the next election. I may well go for a smaller party. But you know, the left-right paradigm is quite interesting because people get kind of tarred with a brush. And I must admit, I've done it. I've labelled people right-wing or left-wing depending on what their views are. That may have been accurate, or my accusations may have been unfair, but it just depends on the subject. And sometimes it is quite a lonely position being in the centre, because you can't really clique with either side. You know, if you agree with conservatives on some issues, you're inevitably going to be very uncomfortable with them on other issues, and likewise with the left. I'll give a few examples. My views on welfare and unemployment, most people watching my videos would probably interpret as pretty left, socialist, maybe even something else. It's fair to say they're pretty left-wing views. I take a pretty, I guess you could call it, moderate approach to welfare. I believe the current system's far too harsh, it's counterproductive, soul destroying, etc, etc, etc. There's no point going into details because I've made it clear what my views are in those videos, but they are pretty much left-wing views. There's no point in me denying that. On those issues, on the issue of unemployment, I'm a left-winger. It doesn't mean I'm against responsibility, but I'm strongly opposed to conservative views on the matter. But then, when it comes to issues like crime, that's where I fall out with the left. and liberals, for example, because I believe their attitude is far too out of touch, ignorant, and carries little moral credibility. On the issue of feminism, some people might think I'm right-wing, because I'm very sceptical of Western feminism. That does not mean I'm opposed to women's rights. I'm very pro-women's rights. I'm opposed to quotas, which is considered a left-wing thing. So people might think I'm right-wing for that reason. I regard it as a balanced view on immigration. I believe it needs to be controlled, but I'm not against it. I despise the right-wing tabloid press with every fibre of my being. Some may interpret that as left-wing, because they are right-wing. But you see what I'm getting at. There's on international affairs, some might regard me as right-wing, because I support a lot of Britain's positions, which they might regard as they would disagree with me on. It just really depends on the issue. And when all is said and done, I think it balances out that I'm a centrist. But if this video is aimed towards anyone, it's aimed towards people who maybe feel a similar limbo. Now, I'm pretty comfortable in my own skin. I know what I believe in. And I don't feel I have to answer to anybody. But I do admit there's times when it's a little lonely. Because you see some people, some right-wingers, have a lot of allies and they sort of align themselves with the right-wingers and that they pretty much agree on most things. Then you get left-wingers that they have their own little club and they all align with each other. Centrism's a bit more complex because centrists don't necessarily agree with each other. You know, centrists, I would argue, are centrists because their views encompass a little bit of left and right. But there may be issues I feel about which another centrist would feel the same way but in reverse. So for example, there may be another centrist who is left-wing on crime and right-wing on welfare, whereas I'm left-wing on welfare and right-wing on crime. So you see what I mean? It's not necessarily a case that centrists are going to be bed buddies. So the truth is, it is a little bit lonely, but I wouldn't change that. I strongly believe that people should stand by their conviction. They shouldn't be arrogant. We should listen to other views and try and learn, hear alternative viewpoints. But I think if you're a politically minded person and you say you never have strong views on something, then you're lying. I think it's impossible if you think about politics at all not to have strong views on something. And I certainly have strong views on a number of issues. Am I a radical? I don't know. There's areas I don't think much about. Healthcare, I broadly believe in universal healthcare, but it's not a subject I give a lot of thought to. And the main reason for that is I'm pretty healthy myself, so I never personally deal with it. Like I say, I support the principle of universal healthcare, but that's an area I don't give a huge amount of thought to. Education, I don't give a huge amount of thought to. So there's areas that I don't really dwell much on, and therefore I don't have massively strong views on. There's other areas I have very strong views on. It just depends. So it's an interesting thing. And I think everyone has to learn to be comfortable in their own skin, to develop their own belief system without being arrogant. That doesn't mean just disagreeing with people for the sake of it. If you agree with people, whether that be the minority or the majority, that's that. But I believe everyone should base their views on their own collected knowledge, through dialogue, through debate, through personal experience. These are how we, develop our views on things. And whilst I have contempt for some opinions, maybe I have to acknowledge that people have reached those opinions due to personal experience. In terms of respecting other opinions, that's generally a good value, and there is something to be said for that. It does demonstrate a mature attitude to life, to respect other opinions that you don't agree with. But having said that, I think it's naive to say that we should all just get on, have a cup of tea and get on. The truth is, politics impacts our lives, and if you can't bring yourself to be moved and angered by something, and with that, you are going to have strong opinions on other people's viewpoints. And I don't think it's really realistic saying, oh, well, they have a different view from me, but I respect them. Because in the end of the day, that's not quite honest, is it? In the end of the day, there's some people you're simply not going to respect because you regard their views as destructive to society or hurtful to yourself or others. Now, I can't respect Tory views on unemployment. I can't take that attitude. Their views are different from mine, but I respect them. I just can't, because I believe their views are destructive, bigoted and immoral. So, I can defend their right to have those views. I could say, well, yeah, they have a right to have those views. But in addressing the whole issue of partisanship, and this is very valid, I think, right now in the United States, where political divisions are very deep. There's a lot of people calling for wounds to be healed and two sides coming together. Now, I think that's very good. I think there's certainly a case to be had for that. But at the same time, being bipartisan doesn't mean selling out. It doesn't mean selling your conviction. And I believe there are circumstances where you should work together for the greater good, for the nation, for any respective nation. But I believe people are not going to just see eye to eye, and it's a bit phony to say you should respect other opinions when some other opinions you simply cannot respect, if you believe those opinions are destructive. Now, you may regard that as a narrow view, but I challenge anyone who would say that. Can you honestly tell me you've never felt angered at someone else's opinion? Can you honestly tell me you've never felt their stance is destructive? And that really pisses me right off. I think it's quite phony to say that you can respect all other opinions. You can handle it in an adult way and have a mature adult debate, but to say that we should respect other opinions is a bit misleading, because that indicates that, you see, with respect comes a sort of acceptance. And there are some viewpoints I simply cannot respect. No, maybe it's because I have a temper problem and that's a weakness of mine, but my stance is that if you have strong views about something, it's very difficult to sell your conviction without... I mean, what I'm trying to get at is bipartisanship has its place, definitely. But you're going to have different views. Now, I began this video talking about the left-right paradigm and how I don't like that sort of pigeonholing. Maybe I'm going off a bit on a tangent, but I think all these issues are connected. In the end of the day, I think if you have views on something, you're going to voice those views. And people will always debate, and sometimes it will be confrontational. And I think without that confrontational element, sometimes it's not genuine. It feels phony to me. Now, I can't turn around and say to a conservative on the unemployment issue, oh, well, you believe in workfare. I don't quite agree with that position, but we'll agree to disagree. No, I'm going to say I think that's bloody immoral, and you're wrong, because that is my core feeling. And there's no way to moderate that sort of stance. In politics, that sort of moderation has its place. but so does conviction. And I think it's all about the way we express our views, not about abandoning views. And in conclusion, I don't like being pigeonholed as left or right. I believe what I believe, and that's it. Thanks for watching.